it's going to be copy-paste. Books are, not good. Win total's a tick too low. Knock it right over. Make playoff price tick too juicy. Bang it out. Postseason comes around on a tee. Knock their heads off.
I don't think the Steelers organization just makes a move to make a move. They have to have, it's like being in the book. You have to know what you're going to move the line to.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Talk about it failing and always putting the square peg into the round hole. We're going to run it. We're going to try and play these lower scoring games. They didn't score over 17 points in the 5 straight losses.
There's a chance for the Ravens to exercise every single demon on their way to a Super Bowl. But it also means the path is very difficult and things are only getting started.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome in. It's Game Time Decisions. We're with you on SportsGrid for the next 2 hours. Kevin Walsh here as we get set for a basketball Thursday and certainly a football weekend. The divisional round of the NFL playoffs will be underway. Monday, we'll be live and in studio with you for the national championship game between Ohio State and Notre Dame. We will be talking some football tonight. We're going to have Dane Martinez live and in person, which I cannot wait for. Talk some divisional round action, some props that he's already locked in. We'll talk head coach openings. We have 6 jobs available right now. To me, I wanted to rank those out where I think there's the best jobs and what that could mean for next year's futures market. We only ranked 5, but that means a team not ranked as 6, so we basically ranked them all. As far as tonight's card goes, it is going to be basketball dominated, and it's going to give us another matchup of the 2 best teams in the NBA, at least record-wise. It's the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it's the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, if you see this number tonight on OKC at home, laying 2, it might look a little light, but we have Isaiah Hartenstein once again injured for Oklahoma City. This is going to be the 6th game this season OKC plays without both Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren. We still have not seen the Thunder play with both of their bigs available. On one end, that's concerning. Sometimes we always expect in the NBA health to turn around. It never does. But certainly there is some optimism to be had that we haven't even seen the best version of Oklahoma City just yet. Now, if you take a look at where these teams line up right now from an odds outlook, and before we get into tonight's game, some picks, I think there's some real value here. 64.5 win total Oklahoma City, 63.5 win total on Cleveland. You can tell regular season-wise they have completely separated from the pack. Yes, that does include the Boston Celtics. We'll talk about their conference prices, but just quickly know these NBA Finals numbers are 2 and 3 respectively. The Celtics are still the team to beat according to odds makers, which is tough to disagree with. We talk about the Hartenstein-Holmgren absences. Boston's 5 best, rarely available at the same time. Boston, the defending champions as well, holding a lot of weight in the market. Let's take that then and go into the Eastern Conference outright pricing. If you look what we started with And where we are now, it is a still clear-cut number. Oh, this is our West number here. There's your East number. It's a minus 105 on Boston, remaining the favorite. But a lot of movement outside of that. What you'll notice here, and these are our opening night, that's where the current top 5 started. Missing from this conversation right now, the Miami Heat, unsurprisingly, more notable, the Philadelphia 76ers, a team that was supposed to contend with Boston and the Knicks and anybody really within this league when they acquired Paul George. Philly's a mess. You never know who's going to play. I got burned by that the other night when they played Oklahoma City, and it looked like it was going to be a 2/3 night of PG and Maxey making the starting gate. Neither did. You know Embiid's not playing. Then they go to play the Knicks. Oh, that's cool. Great. Yeah, you still lost that game in overtime. You had Maxey, you had PG. You didn't have enough. Again, the Philly drop-off is massive, and that's helped elevate this Cleveland number at plus 350. But again, you can see 16-1. It's a lot of movement. This is still a huge gap between the Cavs and the Celtics, and I think what is the more if you believe that Cleveland is the clear-cut top 2 team within the East, then they are still a good bet at plus 350 because you then get them into a series with Boston, likely home court advantage. You'll be able to make moves. My hesitation is I still think the rounding into form Knicks could have some juice. I think that team only gets better. Karl Anthony Towns has been unbelievable. They smoked the Timberwolves in that trade, said it at the time. That was the main domino that'll eventually get Anthony Edwards to leave Minnesota. That's all they did with that Julius Randle trade, a full-on disaster out of Minnesota. The Knicks at 6-1 remain interesting. They also still have, for me, the Tibbs cloud that hangs over their head by the time we get there. If a couple of guys get banged up, I'm sorry, I'm blaming Tibbs again. At the end of the day, if every single time his guys are injured, it's not great. It's not. We're still waiting for Mitch Rob's debut. Let's take this to the Western Conference. And again, it is the NBA, so it's unsurprising that so often we have to talk about availability and what that means for teams. Oklahoma City. The most encouraging thing is, again, we have not seen Holmgren and Hartenstein available at the same time. They're dominant. That 64.5 live win total is obviously the best of anybody in the league right now. And it makes maybe, for me, my defense of the Dallas Mavericks a little difficult. I think the Mavericks are one of the 5 best teams in basketball. Bet them before the year to win the title. And the healthy version of Dallas gave me nothing but confidence. Where's that version? When will we see that version again? Luke has been out for a while. Derek Lively rolled an ankle. Kyrie was kind of holding water. He got injured. He can't play back-to-backs now. And all of a sudden, you have a Mavericks team that I think is the second best in the West, maybe the 7th seed. Maybe we're battling in the plane. That's not how things are supposed to go. So I understand that dropping number on Dallas, even if it is still the most tempting number to me on this team. Denver at plus 650. If you make that bet, you must be thinking a trade is coming. It is right now so similar to the group last year. You hope Jokic can get you 35, 15, and 10 on the way to a potential, okay, we're here in the finals. And at that point, okay, maybe, right? But it just feels like he's being asked to do too much. Maybe a Levine trade, though the entire NBA messed that thing up, clearly. The fact that it was, the Bulls maybe will attach a first-round pick. Levine's having a career year, and now it's going to cost you a ton to get him out of there. Denver should make the call on Jimmy Butler. They probably won't. So this is, again, all kind of wasting away. This Minnesota thing, hilarious. Ant wouldn't even bet that if he was allowed to bet. The Timberwolves thing is a total mess. The Grizzlies are interesting. But, man, if we're talking injuries, I mean, it's kind of Memphis' calling card. Every night you know one of their better players is going to be on that injury report. And that's how OKC has also created this separation. Who right now, like, Cleveland is keeping that Boston number in check. It is very difficult for anybody else here in the West to keep OKC in check, especially when damn near every contender is supposed to make another move. The Lakers and they're pretending we'll make a trade situation. Golden State's best players are saying we don't want to make a trade, which is insanity. So it is a situation why OKC has continued to run, and it has helped Shai Gilgeous-Alexander become the minus money favorite that he is to win league MVP. and rightfully so. It was always going to be difficult for Jokic to grab another one. If you just pull everything away and look at the raw numbers, it's kind of insane Jokic isn't the favorite. I mean, was he having like a 32-point triple-double? But at the end of the day, SGA is incredible. SGA is on maybe the best team in basketball and certainly the best team in the Western Conference. His number tonight, 32.5. 5.5 boards, 5.5 dimes. Donovan Mitchell on the other side, the superstar. You can see how much this is a group effort out of Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell, 21.5. If I told you the Cavs were awesome, Donovan Mitchell's number you'd imagine would on a routine 29.5, 30.5. It's not how they are built. For this game tonight, I like under 233.5. Little road trip here for Cleveland. Thunder will button up defensively, even with the Bigs' absences. My favorite bet, Jalen Williams, over 27.5 points plus rebounds. J-Dub in those 5 games with no Holmgren or Hartenstein, 33 points plus rebounds per game. Hit over in 4 out of the 5. He will shine. And so will Dane Martinez. That's next right here on SportsGrid.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets and when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back to right here. It is Game Time Decisions. We've set up the big game tonight between Cleveland and OKC. You know we have big games this weekend, and to help us talk about them, I am very excited. First time in a long time, my man Dane Martinez in the mix with me right here. The spitting statistician, how we feeling?
Oh, we're doing good. It's the best weekend in football. We got to make some cash, you know?
It is interesting how much I think everybody agrees that it is, because you got the double up, the 4 games. We've eliminated some of the junk there. Yeah. And yet, Saturday, pair of lines that are both over a touchdown, right? And I don't know how much of that is disbelief in some young quarterbacks, Stroud and Jaden Daniels, or more so the belief that exists within Detroit and Kansas City. I'm curious if you think either the Chiefs or the Lions are vulnerable at the moment here heading into their game Saturday.
I think Detroit could be vulnerable. And let me tell you why. 2 reasons. One, I would not put it past Jaden Daniels to once again, show up and show out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, been calm, cool, collective. They've won, I think, their last 5 games on the last play of scrimmage, and he hasn't batted an eye. Yeah. Here's the other thing I'm going to tell you, and don't get me wrong. I was laughing at Dan Campbell when he came in, biting kneecaps and all of that. He's definitely established a culture. He's definitely done his thing. However, Kev, I think he's going balls to the wall a little bit too much. I think it's going to bite him in his hind parts at some point, just like it did in the NFC Championship game last year, right? He's going for it on 4th down. He's onside kicking when he doesn't need to. Eventually, take the field goal and go up by 2 scores. You know what I mean? Yeah. And at some point, it's going to wind up hurting him, and I would not be surprised if that is actually on Saturday night. If either of those teams you tell me is going to lose, I say it would be the Detroit Lions. Now, I think Detroit's going to win, but I'm not going to lay no 8, 9.5 if you want to know the truth. They're also banged up more than most teams at this point. David Montgomery coming back, that will be good. But if either of those teams is vulnerable, for me, it would be Detroit.
I think, man, it's funny how the NFL works. But the talk around Detroit was, oh, my gosh, that defense. They won't be able to do anything with that defense. And then they were pretty good against Minnesota. I mean, a lot of it was Minnesota couldn't convert 4th downs. They were inside Detroit territory. But, again, people, short-term memory, they forget that's not really what played out. But it's funny. I've not heard anyone, go, oh, wait, maybe the Detroit performance against Minnesota wasn't that impressive. Look at what L.A. did. That has a lot more to do with Sam Darnold. So that's the thing with me. We see that total at 55.5, and if I end up on the under, which I might still, I know that I'm hoping the 4th down attempts go my way, which they might. And that's why that 55.5 is such a tall ask, because getting in a scoring range at the end of the day is all you're looking for, right? I remember Ohio State, Bama, the Mac Jones year, which is the last time you and I were, you're like, man, you need a clean ride.
Yeah, a lot of things got to go right.
It's like a 70.5, Gameland 71. I go, see, Dan, it was clean as can be. I hate you. It's like, oh, perfect. We're inside the 25. We're going to get some points here. No, you're not. You might get 7, but you also might get 0, and now the other team's starting way deep down the field. So that's why I'm at the moment kind of thinking under in that game. Kansas City, Houston, comfortably the lowest total there. Do you think that it just speaks to the talent of both defenses, or more questions around the offenses?
I think it does speak to the both of these defenses, especially the Kansas City defense. I mean, this Kansas City defense has been really strong. They're getting to the quarterback. Their pressure rate is top 7 in the NFL. They also blitz the quarterback. They've been great against the run as well. They also, DVOA, which is kind of value against the kind of average, they do good against the wide receiver 1 of other teams, right? Yeah. So when you take away Joe Mixon, you take away Nico Collins, where else is Houston going to go? And quite frankly, that is one of my first props here for the weekend. Give me the Kansas City to get not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 sacks against C.J. Stroud and that Houston Texans offensive line, which has been trash all season long. I mean, C.J. Stroud has been under pressure at the highest rate of any qualified quarterback in the entire NFL. He's been sacked 52 times so far this season. That is second most in the NFL, behind only Caleb Williams. You put together that with a 8.5-point spread, I think the passing game script will be there, and they're going to be able to proverbially pin their ears back at some point. You put the pass rush, the blitz together, the game script, and that offensive line at Houston at plus 175. I believe that we're going to see C.J. Stroud hit the deck 5 or more times.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense. It's always good to get the plus price there. I think one of the keys for Houston is they have to be able to get on the board first. The old MO to beating KC used to be, you better score 35. Now, not really. You don't need, they used to score 35. They're winning this game by 14.
Yeah.
But the Chiefs, if you can get that defense early and then leave them guessing, that will be so big, because they are so good. If you are predictable, they've got you dead to rights, right? Whether that's, okay, perfect, we can send pressure, or, oh, you thought you were going to hand it off to Mixon on a 3rd and 2? Well, he just lost 2, right? So I hear that a lot. I think it's very interesting for Kansas City, because a lot of times you talk to people in the know without sounding pretentious, and they're like, man, that Chiefs defense, what a calling card. And I go, yeah, but then why does all the credit always have to go to Mahomes, right? And That is one of the most fascinating aspects for me of this game is the Chiefs backer, whether that be a fan, someone in the futures market has said, we get here, we turned it on. Well, let's see then. I want to see if Mahomes just turns it on because across the field, Dane, is a fantastic Houston defense.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think the, I don't want to say addition, but Hollywood Brown coming back gives them actually a full complement. You know, and that's not what was the case early in the season. Remember, the acquisition of DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown coming back. When Rashee Rice went down, it was like, who is actually going to help out Travis Kelce in the pass game? Now, he's got 4 legitimate pass catchers there with Kelce, with D-Hop, with, Worthy as well, stretching the field, opening it up. So all of a sudden, he actually does have enough at his disposal. Yeah. So, no, do I think they're going to put up 34? Not necessarily, because they haven't really done that all season. But I do think it's a little bit more dynamic than it could have been. And I think the reemergence of Hollywood Brown as more than just a deep threat like Xavier Worthy was, but as a more polished route runner at the NFL level really helps that offense and Patty.
I will say, if they do put up 34, then whoops, my bad. Okay, I should have been a little bit more respectful to 15. Dane's going to stick around. We're going to hit a break here. We'll come back. We do have 2 teams playing on Sunday that I know before the year you thought could get to the big game. They are still here, but it's not going to be easy. Certainly the conversation around the Sunday nighter with Buffalo and Baltimore is well known, but, man, you keep your ear to the ground. I mean, are the Eagles even favored in this game? We'll talk about it next right here. It's Game Time Decisions on SportsGrid.
Talk about it failing and always putting the square peg into the round hole. We're going to run it. We're going to try and play these lower scoring games. They didn't score over 17 points in the 5 straight losses.
There's a chance for the Ravens to exercise every single demon on their way to a Super Bowl. But it also means the path is very difficult and things are only getting started.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to be copy-paste. Books are not good. Win total's a tick too low. Knock it right over. Make playoff price tick too juicy. Bang it out. Postseason comes around on a tee. Knock their heads off.
I don't think the Steelers organization just makes a move to make a move. They have to have, it's like being in the book. You have to know what you're going to move the line to.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Jimmy Butler wants to leave because Jimmy Butler knows that Riles isn't going to pay him, and he wants to get paid. Simply put, if they would have given Jimmy Butler this contract extension in the summer when he asked, this wouldn't be happening. But Riles did it, and Riles wanted him to play. So now he's disgruntled because he wants out.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Live with you right here. It is Game Time Decisions. We've got Joe Madden coming up around the corner. It is a loaded hockey board here on this Thursday. Right now, we are talking with Dane Martinez around the NFL divisional round there. Let me quickly ask you, Dane, because I know there's a prop in the Detroit-Washington game on Saturday that you're interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, this Washington defense, they give up the chunk gains. I love a stat that's like explosive runs against, and Washington has been really bad. 13% of the runs against this Commanders defense have gone for chunk gains of 10 or more yards. They give up 4.8 yards per carry. That's tied for third worst in the NFL. Give me Jahmyr Gibbs. You see, just watching with your own two eyes, the Sonic of Sonic and Knuckles, right? He breaks off these chunk gains at a ridiculous rate. He's had 41 explosive carries so far this season. Those 41 have gone for a total of 1,071 yards. That's like more than 20 right there, right? His rate is the best among running backs at doing so. I think you put them all together, and the longest rush for Jahmyr Gibbs, some books have it at 17.5, some books have it at 18.5. David Montgomery coming back doesn't impact this bet, right? Because maybe Monty gets some carries in short yardage in the goal line, but I can still get Jahmyr Gibbs to break one off. Give me the longest rush for Jahmyr Gibbs to go over 17.5 yards, Kev.
I will say, I think there are some books out there that may do alts on this, and I think those would be interesting even because we don't really know how much Montgomery there will be. Right. The last 2 weeks of football for Gibbs, a 30-yard run, a 47-yard run. If he gets 20 carries, which he still may, he's probably going to hit a 20-yarder at minimum there. So I think it makes all the sense in the world. Sunday, Philly's hosting L.A. Look, man, it is a very interesting thing when your preseason work leads you to thinking that your favorite team is the best bet on the Super Bowl board, right? And I know that how people look at me when I say that, but the year before, I bet Buffalo to win the Super Bowl, and people are like, I thought you hated Buffalo. I'm like, but I'm trying to tell you that it's not. I'm not just clicking what I like. It's what I see. But as we've gotten here, what is really blown my mind is how for most of this season, people have been trying to pull the rug out from under Philly. And here we are once again. People adore this LA Ram teams, and people are trying to pull the rug out for the Eagles against the LA Rams.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. The LA Rams are coming in hot, right? They started 1-4.
Yeah.
Okay, and ever since they've been healthy and fully whole outside of Week 18 when they didn't play their starters, they've been crushing people, okay? They got to Sam Darnold. They got to Sam Darnold, 9 times? But this is a different offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they are going to channel their inner excellence and be just fine. Also, Kev, I mean, that first game, Rams-Eagles, what did Saquon go for? Like 300 scrimmage yards at some point, right? So I still think that is going to be the dominant factor. It's going to be chilly. It's going to be snowing in Philadelphia on Sunday. I think you put all things together, and that profiles more to the way Philadelphia is going to want to play this game. I think this is a big Saquon Barkley game, just like it was earlier in the season. And I think it's a tough task for the Rams, okay? This is, in essence, back-to-back road games for the Rams, right? Like, they did not really get the true home game. You know, obviously, the stuff that's going on in Los Angeles with the wildfires. It was a tough situation for the Rams. They had a lot of people come on down, but they basically played in Arizona. It was another road game for them. Now they got to go cross-country, and I'm with you. I think people, to use your term, trying to pull the rug out from the Philadelphia Eagles, but I do not see the weakness. And the biggest difference for me is that this defense has been absolutely ridiculous lately. When you have, obviously, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean out there, some of these Georgia Bulldogs, Nakobe Dean going out is a big loss.
No doubt.
Sure. But I think that front is very stout, and I think the improvement in the defense is key. And then, Philly is one of those teams that can score 30 points on any given time. I do think, exactly. So I'm with you. I think Philly, I would lay the number of 6.5.
Okay.
I think they can win this one going away.
Yeah, tell me where you're at right now before we let you get out of here. And again, this is the best. We have to do it more. Baltimore, Buffalo, slight lean on Baltimore in terms of the money line at -118. Where are you at on this game?
I said at the beginning of the season that I thought the Baltimore Ravens were going to win the Super Bowl. I maintain that I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl. I am on Lamar Jackson over his rushing prop. It started the week at like 46. Now at some places it's at 53. I talk about that explosive run rate. The Bills, dead last in the NFL. 14% of the runs go for over 10 yards. Lamar Jackson, 36 chunk gains in the run game. And here's the other thing. Derrick Henry ran for 199 against them back in the day, earlier in the season, right? I think Buffalo's going to adjust to that, and that's going to leave some read option opportunity for Lamar Jackson. The man had 15 carries. If he gets that many carries, he's going over his number. That's the pivot play in an MVP showdown against Josh Allen.
I am very excited to watch that game play out. I'm wondering if we get absolute fireworks
You think back to the Mahomes-Allen divisional round battle.
Yeah.
I don't know, why not? Maybe that 51.5 is a little light. Again, that is Dane Martinez. This is Game Time Decisions. It's a quick break. Then we're going to get Joe Madden here. Talk some puck with you on a Thursday night.
Talk about it failing and always putting the square peg into the round hole. We're going to run it. We're going to try and play these lower scoring games. They didn't score over 17 points in the 5 straight losses.
There's a chance for the Ravens to exercise every single demon on their way to a Super Bowl. But it also means the path is very difficult and things are only getting started.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to be copy-paste. Books up, not good. Win total's a tick too low. Knock it right over. Make playoff price tick too juicy. Bang it out. Postseason comes around on a tee. Knock their heads off.
I don't think the Steelers organization just makes a move to make a move. They have to have, it's like being in the book. You have to know what you're going to move the line to.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Jimmy Butler wants to leave because Jimmy Butler knows that Riles isn't going to pay him, and he wants to get paid. Simply put, if they would have given Jimmy Butler this contract extension in the summer when he asked, this wouldn't be happening. But Riles did it, and Riles wanted him to play. So now he's disgruntled because he wants out.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Live right here, it is Game Time Decisions on this Thursday night. The NBA board, I am sure, going to be the focus for many of you out there. I want to just quickly run through the NBA card, list it out, and then we're going to get into some hockey with Joe Madden. The big game, Thunder Cavs. I'm on that under at 233.5, and I'm on Jalen Williams, my favorite bet tonight, 27.5 points plus rebounds at minus 105. We're going to go with Cade Cunningham over 15.5 rebounds plus assists. A Suns team total over 121.5, taking the Blazers catching 7 at home against the Clippers, then a Kings-Rockets under 225.5. We'll break those down a little bit later on in our show, but wanted to just help you guys set the deck there before anything tips off or before we drop any pucks. And we've got a couple of interesting ones in that 7 o'clock window. To help us break it down, it's Joe Madden. Joe, appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for having me. We definitely got a hot night out there on the ice. Great to see a full slate of games, Kevin.
We'll start in Tampa Bay, Joe, where the Lightning are a huge favorite here tonight. I believe our biggest on the board. Could there potentially be some value on the other side with the Ducks?
I just can't get there with the Ducks with John Gibson getting the start here. He's been struggling on the season, and as of late, he's lost his last 3 starts, Kevin. And you look at the Tampa Bay Lightning coming in here, they're off that loss to the Bruins. Now, that was out there on the road, 6-2 loss. Brutal loss for them, especially versus a team that they're normally able to have their way with. First game home off a road trip, which is normally a fade spot, but not when this team had such a brutal loss and a brutal road trip. They went 1-2 on that road trip. I'm expecting with Andre Vasilevsky playing the way he is in net for the Tampa Bay Lightning to really limit the opportunities for the Ducks to be able to hit him and for him to stand tall between the pipes. So I'm looking at a couple of ways in this. I do think you can look at the Ducks team total. It's coming in at 2.5. I'll take that to the under. I just don't see that scoring coming for them in this one, even with Troy Terry stepping up for this team. I still think under 2.5 is a nice way to go. You're going to have to lay juice on that. So if you want to look at the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first period to come out flying out of the gate, I don't blame you. I do think they could cover that puck line in the first period as well, Kevin. That puck line in the first period, laying 0.5 goals, coming in up plus 104.
Now, we get over to the game tonight between Washington, and they're going up against the Senators on the road. And the other night, we had the Sports Millions Pick'em. We'll have that a little bit later on. And I think Tom was on Ovechkin. So I started just looking into it a little bit, right? I know Ovi had just come back. And it is, again, still kind of hard to put into words the season that he is still kind of having. I know he didn't score his last game out, Joe, but he has 20 goals, which is tied for 12th best in the league. Of players who are inside the top 20 of goal scorers this season, he is the only one to have not played at least 35 games. He's only played 28. I mean, you could argue he's as good as ever. Maybe a little bit slower since coming back from the injury, but maybe some value tonight against Ottawa.
Definitely value tonight against Ottawa. I think Ovechkin took off where he left off, and he came back from a leg injury. You got to remember he had a broken part of his leg, and he got back out there on the ice, defied all odds, and came out just firing at will. And I do think he will come out firing at will in this one. Now, I was hoping it would be Forsberg in net for the Ottawa Senators, but we do have Levi coming in who has been strong for them. Still, I don't think it's enough versus this Washington Capitals team to be able to slow down Ovechkin. I think Ovechkin comes out and he brings it tonight. Now, we're not getting the best value on him for the anytime goal at plus 140, Kevin, but I do think you could look at him for the goal and you can look at him for his points tonight. I think the Capitals are playing such strong hockey. Logan Thompson in net, that this should be a game that they're able to get the win. So I'm going to look at the Washington Capitals in the first period. It's somewhere I love to go when I'm liking a team to cover that puck line for the full game. You normally, especially in a situation like this, you got to not get the best odds laying the puck line in the full game. But when you look at that first period, you're normally getting the most plus money there. So laying the 0.5 goal, looking for them to start off hot here, is coming in at plus 186, Kevin.
All right, so some value potentially on Ovi. When we continue to look at this board here tonight, Joe, do you see any value on the game between Detroit and Florida? The Panthers, a big-time favorite. I know the Red Wings were playing some good hockey for a little bit there, then lost a home game to the Sharks. How do you try and find some value in this matchup?
Yeah, this is a team that was rolling hot, Kevin. You look at them going into that game versus the Sharks. They had won 6 in a row. They looked past the San Jose Sharks, which a lot of teams do. You see those situations like that, especially with a road trip loading. So now we have a Red Wings team out there on a road versus the Florida Panthers, who are coming off that win versus the Devils. Now, that game went all the way to a shootout. They were able to get the win, but this is a team that, after playing in a game like that, has shown their struggles in the first period. And I do think the Red Wings have the ability to pull off the win in the first period. We know this team has been firing, has been lighting the lamp. They have so many playmakers out there. And with Cam Talbot in net tonight, I have faith with him to stand tall between the pipes. So I'm going to take the Red Wings money line first period. That's coming in at plus 172. They have won their last 4 games as an underdog, so they have been able to come out strong, and they went on that big streak. They're off that disappointing loss, and Florida coming back home after beating the Devils is just a bad situation in that first period. Now, can Florida come back and win? Absolutely. So be careful with this one if you're betting the Red Wings here for the full game. I would probably stay off of it, but I would look for them in the first period, Kevin.
Joe, how about the Devils here? They're on the road. They're going up against Toronto. And if you look, the Devils have this great start to the season. They dropped 4 in a row, right? They win a game 3-2. And then their last 3, a 3-2 loss in overtime, a 3-2 win in overtime, and a 2-1 loss in a shootout. Very close hockey. But overall now, they have lost 6 of 8. What do you make of the Devils here as a slight road favorite?
Oh, it's hard to get behind them. You look at this team, and Kevin, their power play, one of the best in the league. They're in the top 3 on that power play, but you look at their last 2 games, 9 opportunities to convert on that power play and have only been able to convert in 1 of those in their last 9 chances. So I'm not willing to lay any juice on the New Jersey Devils, especially when we've seen Jacob Markstrom so far this season in a net versus Toronto, he has had those struggles. It's an .828 save percentage versus the Leafs. So I do think the Leafs come out strong and will be able to hit him. The problem here is Tavares did go on the IR. He took an injury during practice the other day. So they will be out without Tavares out there on the ice. But I think the Leafs can pull it off. We look at the Devils. They have struggled versus Toronto, only winning 5 of the last 21 meetings. We have seen strong trends towards the road team, but the Devils again in Toronto, they've only won 5 of the last 17. So I'm willing to take a nice price here on the Toronto Maple Leafs at home.
All right, here on this Thursday night, again, it's a very loaded NHL card, so we're going to have Joe stick around with us for a little bit here. We're going to get through most of this card tonight, maybe talk a little bit of NFL divisional round action as well. But, Joe, we have a game tonight between San Jose and Columbus, and this one's moving around a little bit. The 6.5s are very juiced to the under. The 5.5s for the total are very juiced towards the over. Are you looking towards the total in any capacity in this game?
Yeah, I am. I'm taking the San Jose Sharks completely out of the mix in this one because you look at Elvis in net here for Columbus, and he's had some really strong games as of late. The San Jose Sharks have been struggling to score, and while they have playmakers, and I would love to have them come in here and pull off the upset, I just don't think it happens in Columbus, but it could. So what I'm looking at is Columbus's team total. The Columbus Blue Jackets have been strong on their home ice. They've been getting those goals on the board, and we're going to see Georgiev in net tonight. It's hard to believe what a terrible season he is having and how hard teams are hitting him. So I'll look at the Columbus Blue Jackets team total. That team total coming in at 3.5, and I do think they go over that. That's coming in at -108. Win or lose, the Columbus Blue Jackets should get 4 goals in this one, Kevin, and that's a nice price for it too.
And then, you know what? I want to rush. I'm interested to see what you think about the Islanders and the Flyers tonight. The Isles now on a strong under trend. If you look at the last few games, they are just once, I think it's the last 6 or 7. We've seen a game have 6 or more goals in it. But before that, there's a lot of high-scoring hockey being played for the Isles. So we'll see what that means for their game tonight. Then a few other spots that we got to stop by. We got St. Louis and Calgary going at it again. The Rangers head to Utah. Then, of course, Colorado and Edmonton. Where do we find some value in a superstar showdown? That's next right here on SportsGrid.
Talk about it failing and always putting the square peg into the round hole. We're going to run it. We're going to try and play these lower scoring games. They didn't score over 17 points in the 5 straight losses.
There's a chance for the Ravens to exercise every single demon on their way to a Super Bowl. But it also means the path is very difficult and things are only getting started.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to be copy-paste. Books are not good. Win total's a tick too low. Knock it right over. Make playoff price tick too juicy. Bang it out. Postseason comes around on a tee. Knock their heads off.
I don't think the Steelers organization just makes a move to make a move. They have to have, it's like being in the book. You have to know what you're going to move the line to.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Jimmy Butler wants to leave because Jimmy Butler knows that Riles isn't going to pay him, and he wants to get paid. Simply put, if they would have given Jimmy Butler this contract extension in the summer when he asked, this wouldn't be happening. But Riles did it, and Riles wanted him to play. So now he's disgruntled because he wants out.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back with you right here on Game Time Decisions. We'll reset that NBA board before everything tips off at 7 o'clock. The college basketball board tonight. 3 ranked teams in action. It's going to be Memphis, Michigan, and Gonzaga, all on the road. Memphis laying 6.5 to Temple. Michigan laying 10 at a hook to Minnesota. Then the Zags just under double digits to Oregon State. You know, I don't know. The way college goes this year, one of them has to get upset now. We'll see if it's a dog night on that college board. We'll see what we have tonight on this hockey board, though, as we keep breaking it down. We're with Joe Madden. Joe, we went to the break, and I said I was just curious how you feel about the Islanders and the Flyers here tonight. The Isles playing a lot of low-scoring hockey recently. What are you expecting for their game tonight with Philly coming to town?
Well, we got Sorokin in net tonight for the Islanders, and I have so much faith in him, especially when you start looking at his numbers versus the Philadelphia Flyers. He's been so strong in that goal, 1.50 goals against average versus the Flyers in his career and a .949 save percentage. I expect him to have a fantastic night in net tonight, and the Flyers to struggle to score. Now, we're looking at a team here in the Isles, and it's hard to bet on this team on the regular because they have the worst power play and the worst kill in the league. But I do think against this Flyers team here with Sorokin, they're going to have a great game. I'm looking for the Flyers team total to stay under 2.5. That's coming in at plus 100. And I'm also going to put a little bit of a sprinkle here on the Isles straight up on that puck line, Kevin. I think they can cover that puck line. It's coming in at plus 186. I really do see Sorokin pulling off a 3-1 or 2-0 style win here tonight.
All right, so let's see then how we continue to go through this board here, because Nashville and Chicago will be going head-to-head. And no surprise, the Preds, really, really big favorites in this game, Joe. Are you looking to back Nashville in this one?
In some capacity, yeah. I'm expecting Nashville to be able to come out and get a goal in the first period, but I'm not counting out the Chicago Blackhawks either. I think both of these teams can come out strong in that first period. Chicago is on a losing streak right now, and teams start to get dangerous in that situation. Their offense really clicks into another gear. And I do think with Saros' struggles and the Predators' struggles defensively, we will see them be able to light the lamp in the first period. And then we have a Predators team rolling in with momentum after getting that win over Vegas 5-3. They're going to want to have to start the night hot here. Hit Peter Mrazek right away. So both teams to score in the first period is coming in at plus 188. And I do think there's some storylines you can look at here. Taylor Hall was very vocal the other day about his future with Chicago, saying it's a business is a business, and he's going to come out and play his best hockey, but he doesn't know if he's going to be in Chicago for much longer. So I do think you look at Taylor Hall for the great plus money. He's coming in right around plus 430 there, Kevin, for the anytime goal, plus 480. And then Forsberg on the other side. Forsberg has been so strong, 12 goals on the season and 37 points. And we know Chicago defensively doesn't put up that resistance. I do think Forsberg finds the back of the net tonight for the Predators.
All right, just a couple more games I want to get to here, because I'd love to just ask you quickly, Joe, if there's any NFL action that you've locked in. So let me make sure I get to the game between Colorado and Edmonton. Star-studded, short number, minus 120 for the Avs at home. Nice 6.5 total here. What are you looking to do with this big game tonight?
This is going to be a great one between, some really big superstars. Nathan McKinnon hitting the 70-point mark this season in his last game out, the first player in the league this season to do so. And then you've got Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Zach Hyman on the other side. I'm looking for both of these teams to come out absolutely firing in that first period. I ultimately think the Avs can get the win here at home. We're getting a short price on them in this one. And I like to look at their team total over 3.5. So a lot of ways you can go with this, Kevin. Skinner in net tonight for the Edmonton Oilers. Mackenzie Blackwood in net for Colorado. At the end of the day, I trust Mackenzie Blackwood so much more than I do Stuart Skinner. I look at Edmonton. They've won their last 3. They're coming off a very hard game, even though they got the win versus the Minnesota Wild. So give me the Avs in this one. Give me, though, both teams to score in the first period. I think both of these teams kick it off really fast. You look at Edmonton. In their last game out versus the Wild, both of those teams put up 2 goals. And we know Colorado, how intense they are offensively. I want to touch the full game total, but first period over the 1.5 and both teams to score. Colorado to get the win, and then their team total over 3.5. That's coming in at plus 130, Kevin.
Let me just say quickly on Edmonton, I feel as if the early season chatter was, oh man, Oilers, not very good. And I know last year that happened, and they had to make they fired a coach, but like all of a sudden you pick your head up. They have the fourth most points in the league. McDavid's on fire again. I think they're 18-4-1 within their last 23 games. I mean, it's incredible the way that this team has the ability to turn it on. Quickly, Joe, let me ask you, when it does come to the NFL board, and I'm sure you're still going to, have some time to go through things and see what you like, but I'm curious if there's a side, if there's a spread of the four that is really standing out to you right now.
Ooh, okay, let me just look to make sure there's been no movement today. But, I look at that matchup between the Bills and the Ravens, and I know so many people are so split on this one, but I do think this is where we could see that back and forth battle. The last person who gets the ball, it's still sitting at that spread of 1.5, and I still have to go with the Baltimore Ravens in that. But looking at the other matchups, I do think the Rams have every possibility of pulling off the upset. I don't think Jalen Hurts is 100% out there on the field, and that does scare me. And the dogs are starting to bark in my house, Kevin. So great sign there for the LA Rams. I do think the Detroit Lions and the Washington Commanders, that should be an intense game that probably goes over that total. Washington playing for nothing to lose, in my opinion. No one expected the Washington Commanders to get to where they are. And then the Texans, man, I hope that defense can give the Chiefs some troubles, but Kevin, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. They always find a way to win. I just can't see the upset happening in that matchup. But I do think the defense will come out strong enough, especially in that first half, to really limit the Kansas City Chiefs, who've been sitting for quite a while now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really fun weekend. We'll see. You got pretty sizable underdogs within those first three games, and then you have a home dog. Look, I know it's a small number, but it is no small thing to be a favorite of any nature in Buffalo. Joe, we appreciate it as always. Best of luck on the ice tonight.
Yeah, best of luck to everyone out there as well. Thanks, Kevin, for having me.
All right, great stuff as always there from Joe Madden. Just to remind you, we're going to go through your NBA card, and we're also going to talk about the NFL head coach openings, the best jobs, and what it can mean for the futures market next year. That's all coming up still on SportsGrid.
Talk about it failing and always putting the square peg into the round hole. We're going to run it. We're going to try and play these lower scoring games. They didn't score over 17 points in the 5 straight losses.
There's a chance for the Ravens to exercise every single demon on their way to a Super Bowl. But it also means the path is very difficult and things are only getting started.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to be copy-paste. Books are not good. Win total's a tick too low. Knock it right over. Make playoff price tick too juicy. Bang it out. Postseason comes around on a tee. Knock their heads off.
I don't think the Steelers organization just makes a move to make a move. They have to have, it's like being in the book. You have to know what you're going to move the line to.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Jimmy Butler wants to leave because Jimmy Butler knows that Riles isn't going to pay him, and he wants to get paid. Simply put, if they would have given Jimmy Butler this contract extension in the summer when he asked, this wouldn't be happening. But Riles did it, and Riles wanted him to play. So now he's disgruntled because he wants out.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Back right here. It's Game Time Decisions. We are live on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh with you, and let's get some Sports Millions pick'em options. We have some action for tonight and some action for this weekend as well. Some breakdowns from both Tom Vecchio and Joe Madden.
Happy Thursday, everyone. It's time to dive into Tom and my Sports Millions pick'ems. Tom, I know you're looking ahead to the weekend. I will be diving into some NHL, but why don't you kick us off?
We have another game to break down, a huge weekend, divisional matchups. Let's jump into the Lions at home, hosting the Commanders, and let's turn to the Commanders' backup running back, Austin Eckler, higher than 23.5 receiving yards. A lot of what I'm thinking about from this game starts with the fact I don't think the Commanders are going to be able to run the ball. Brian Robinson has specifically not been great. They're also large underdogs, so they should be playing in a passing game script. And Austin Eckler has played that consistent role out of the backfield. I know he missed a bit of time with the concussion, but he's back. He's generally going to be seeing those 3, 4, 5 targets per game. So getting over 23.5 receiving yards, I think, is a very, very viable outcome. Even if they do end up losing this game, they will be getting the passing yards when it's all said and done.
I think Austin Eckler is going to have a great one, so I love where you're going with that. I'm going to turn to the ice tonight, and I'm going to look at the matchup here between the Seattle Kraken and the Winnipeg Jets. Now, I'm high on this Winnipeg team, and rightly so. This team sitting first in the Central, absolutely dominating out there. And I'm looking at a player from the top line. Mark Scheifele centering that top line, Tom, comes out here, and he has an assist that we can look at. Him higher than a half an assist on Sports Millions is exactly the way I'm going to go in this one versus a Seattle Kraken team that's allowing right around 28 shots on goal per game. They're allowing those goals to fly in, allowing right around 3 goals per game. And Joey Decord in net tonight, I just don't have that faith in him. Looking at Mark Scheifele on that top line there, with Kyle Connor, should be able to get the assists. The last time they faced off with Seattle, he was able to get 2 assists in that game. And we look at him, 26 assists on the season. I think he's in for a strong night against a weak defense here, Tom.
Absolutely. Since the turn of calendar year, the Kraken have been really struggling on defense, and you give Kyle Connor any extra chances, he'll probably put one in, and Mark Scheifele will certainly be involved.
Absolutely. You guys, all the best in all of your picks on Sports Millions. We'll join you back here tomorrow.
Some great stuff there. Before we talk a little bit about some of your other options on Sports Millions Pick'em for some higher or lowers, let's hear a little bit about the Social Casino.
Check out Sports Millions Social Casino, featuring classic slots and brand new game concepts. The Social Casino features the opportunity to win large sweepstake coins, and the games are always free to enter. Go play now at sportsmillions.com/social-casino. That's sportsmillions.com/social-casino.
You know, we saw Tom give out the Austin Eckler number. You know, so I'm messing around, you know, on some of your options on Sports Millions Pick'em. And one thing that caught my eye, Jaden Daniels is higher or lower for rushing yards, 54.5. On a weekend where Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are playing against one another, it is Jaden Daniels with the highest rushing number at the quarterback position. That's just an incredible thing. Not saying it's not deserved. It just gives you an idea of the level of runner that you have in Daniels and what the expectations are for that game against Detroit. The highest rushing total for any player, that, of course, belongs to Saquon Barkley, who played LA this year and had the best game of his career. 26 carries, 255 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Had a 70-yard touchdown to open up the second half and a 72-yard touchdown to close out the game. Maybe my favorite thing about that is you might think, but the numbers were way skewed and he probably didn't have that good of a game if you remove the 140 yards worth of touchdowns. Yeah, when you do that, he still averaged nearly 5 yards a carry against LA in that game. I think Saquon Barkley is in for quite the weekend in Philadelphia. Sit tight, though. We're going to take a quick break right here on Game Time Decisions on this Thursday, and we reset the NBA board. It will begin in Detroit with the Pistons and the Pacers, and then the Wizards and the Suns. And at 7:30, the big game between Oklahoma City and Cleveland. Multiple picks in that one. Let's break it all down for you next. It's Game Time Decisions.
it's going to be copy-paste. Books are not good. Win total's a tick too low. Knock it right over. Make playoff price tick too juicy. Bang it out. Postseason comes around on a tee. Knock their heads off.
I don't think the Steelers organization just makes a move to make a move. They have to have, it's like being in the book. You have to know what you're going to move the line to.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Talk about it failing and always putting the square peg into the round hole. We're going to run it. We're going to try and play these lower scoring games. They didn't score over 17 points in the 5 straight losses.
There's a chance for the Ravens to exercise every single demon on their way to a Super Bowl. But it also means the path is very difficult and things are only getting started.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're live right here on SportsGrid at Kevin Walsh, and we've got ourselves an NBA board tonight, 5 games deep. I'm involved in all 5 of these games, and we do have some movement, all right? So let's go through them all. We'll go chronological order. You'll be able to get in before anything tips. Halliburton's going to go for the Pacers tonight. That flipped them to favorites. It shot the total up to 228.5. But again, now the Pacers, who were initially like a 2-point dog, are now a 2-point road favorite. Speaks to Hallie's value, speaks to the quality of the hoop the Pacers have been playing. Detroit's been playing well. I like, though, that Halliburton's going to be out there. Less likely we see a blowout either direction. And I like tonight a bounce back from Cade Cunningham in the rebounds plus assist market at even money. I played over 15.5 rebounds plus assists. This was booked at an even number earlier today. Over on DK, Cunningham is coming off of easily his worst rebounds plus assist game of the season. First time all year he did not have at least 5 assists in a basketball game, had just 4 against the Knicks, and had only 2 rebounds to pair with it. It was the first time all season he did not have at least double digits rebounds plus assists. So it gives you an idea that he is due to bounce back in both of those categories. The 2 rebounds is tied for the second fewest that he's had this season. Only 2 other games where he did not have at least 3 rebounds within a game so far. I think Cade bounces back in that RA market at home with some higher tempo basketball being played against the Pacers. Wizards Suns, different story. Washington is bad, and it is getting worse. I mean, this team is so terrible. They're on a 7-game losing streak where their defensive rating is a 127. They are now the worst defense in the league with no close second, basically. They are also one of the fastest teams in the NBA. It is a perfect recipe to have an opponent team total over. They gave up 138 to Chicago, 136 to OKC, and Minnesota scoring 120. For a team like Minnesota, that's a load of points. We know how that offense has been. Expect Phoenix tonight, even without Bradley Beal, to get well through a 121.5 number. KD always shows out when he's back in D.C. Devin Booker's been playing well also. The reason, by the way, I'm playing a Suns team total instead of laying the number or playing a full game over, I don't necessarily know what I'm getting from Washington on any given basis. There are games where they cannot score whatsoever. There are games where Jordan Poole heats up. You know every single game their defense will be terrible. You know that. For sure, it'll be terrible again against the Suns tonight. OKC and Cleveland. This is the big game here tonight. Oklahoma City at home. Booked as a favorite, of course, but not a big favorite. Because for just the sixth time this season, we see Oklahoma City play without at least one of Hartenstein or Chet. Now, the reality is we have not seen them play any games this year with both Hartenstein and Chet. They have got to... I do think for Oklahoma City, listen, so it's kind of a rich world problem, right? But it is very important for them to get some reps, right, with both Hartenstein and Chet, because for Oklahoma City, it's very fluid, right? They are so deep, they're so talented. You lose Chet and you just put in Hartenstein. It's like, my goodness, man, what a ball club. And that is real, right? They are an incredible team. But they don't know if they want to play double big. If they're not going to play double big, that means Hartenstein's going to the bench. Right? All right, let's see if they are going to play double big, what do the rotations look like? What do people's minutes look like? You want to get accustomed to that. Because all Chet knows is being the 5 and being the guy, and all Hartenstein knows is being the 5 and being the guy. So that's an adjustment that OKC has to make. They have to get their guys back. When you look, though, for Oklahoma City in that current 5-game sample size that sits out there, they still do give you some very good defensive efforts, right? They held Phoenix to 83 once. They held New Orleans to 88 once within that run. I think their defense will be good. Yes, there were some games where it was higher scoring, but I also think Cleveland's offense tonight will be a little bit lower scoring, and I think even their defense will step up. There are not a lot of road trips that have been happening so far within the Cleveland schedule. Multiple games on the road consecutively. That's what we have here tonight. If you look, their second game of a road trip, again, not that many, but they are lower scoring basketball games. I'm on the under 233.5 tonight. I think it's a very good spot to play this under. I know the first game was an absolute rocket ship with 250 points, 251 points in it. I think we're lower scoring tonight. I think despite a lower scoring nature, Jalen Williams still absolutely shines. J-Dub over 27.5 points plus rebounds. My favorite bet on the board tonight. Played it at minus 105 for Jalen Williams. In the 5 games that he played where both Hartenstein and Chet were out, he averaged 32.8 points plus rebounds per game, well over in 4 out of the 5. The one under kind of dragged down those numbers. You could play this with alts comfortably. You're looking at somebody when he was hitting this, you're talking about hitting this with points alone and the rebound number looking good. Had 25 and 5 when they just played Cleveland. I really like what I'm going to get tonight out of Jalen Williams. 2 more picks, right, for this card here tonight. Rare spot. The Clippers are coming off of a game where they just beat a team by 50. Could have been 60. They won by 59 points against Brooklyn. 126-67. And as I went through just very recent history, this and last season, teams to win by 50 plus, none of them had played the second leg of a back-to-back the next game, right? We saw in a lot of those games, I felt you saw, teams still be able to score. But so often, teams that win by 50 score $140 in today's NBA. The Clippers became the first team to score 120 and give up less than 70, which is awesome. I think the defensive level drops off. I don't know how great the offense will be. Kawhi's not playing in this game. Portland's been very good when they are on a legitimate losing streak. They've lost 3 in a row, 2 straight at home. I think the Blazers can actually pull off this upset outright, but I really like them catching 7. Looks like it's up to 7.5 in some spots. I'm on the Blazers there, plus the points. And I'm on the under tonight for Houston and Sacramento. 5 of 7 for the Rockets played on the second leg of a back-to-back, under the number. The 2 overs, 1 in overtime, and the other was a game where there were 65 points scored within that fourth quarter. You look at the most recent Houston games. They go and score 128 against Denver, but it's kind of a crazy, weird one. No Jokic out of nowhere. The 3 games before that, Memphis, Washington. Memphis, the fastest team in basketball this season. Washington, we just told you, the worst defense, who is also one of the fastest teams in basketball. Sacramento is not as fast. Sacramento's been playing much better basketball. Again, the Rockets, when they're playing without rest, typically lower scoring. I like under tonight at 225.5 between Sacramento and Houston. That is your NBA card here tonight. 6 picks for us here on this slate. Let's talk some coaches. What jobs are open? Which jobs are good? Why are they good? And who are some coaches that, if these teams were making the appropriate moves, in my opinion, would be getting these jobs? We get you an updated Take 5 next right here on SportsGrid.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Back right here, it's GameTime Decisions. We wanted to get the people to Take 5 here on this Thursday. Now, this Take 5 is not going to have action for you like most of the, if not all of the prior ones have, but it might also. Bear with me, okay? This is a Take 5 that will impact a market we don't have yet, which is future Super Bowl odds. We're going to talk about the head coach openings. We have 6. We did 5. That means you know who 6th is. I'll tell you right now, it's the New Orleans Saints. It's not a great job. It's not. They have no cap space whatsoever. They're in the worst cap situation of anybody in football. They don't have one of the top, 5 picks within this draft. They don't know if they like Derek Carr, if they don't like Derek Carr. The only selling point would probably be, it's the NFC South. And even that I'm not going to subscribe to. I don't like that Saints job. The other 5 I am far more complimentary about, but there has to be an order. So for me, that 5th job, and by the way, we're going to give you a coach that I think would make some sense with these jobs, is the Jacksonville job, the Jaguars. And I think Dion could make some sense here. Now, that portion of it is likely a scorcher and also very unrealistic. Here's what is realistic. The Jaguars are going to prioritize pairing someone with Trevor Lawrence no matter what, right? And that's why we're hearing Liam Cohen's in a lot, and I think he would make some sense. I think Aaron Glenn would make sense, even if you wanted to go on the defensive side of the football, Detroit's defensive coordinator. Brady, I get it, okay? It is likely going to be finding a coach that you can pair with Trevor Lawrence. But I will say, with Dion, who we are hearing is going to potentially become the Cowboys head coach. We'll talk about where Dallas falls on this list for me. There's still some chatter out. Yeah, maybe they'll move on from Dak, get Shador, right? Maybe they'll let Shador sit behind Dak. I believe fully in Dion's desire to coach Shador. And I believe without a shadow of a doubt, trading Trevor Lawrence would get this team Shador Sanders. And at that point, Colorado's head coach could become Jacksonville's head coach. This is a team that does have a star receiver in Brian Thomas. Defensively, they could use a little bit of pop. Here's the thing. If Trevor Lawrence gets you the 3rd pick from the Giants, at 5, Dion's there. Maybe he can muscle his way into Travis Hunter as well, and you can flip this whole thing around. I know that this is largely unrealistic. I think it makes more sense than Dion going to Dallas. That is not a fit that I am over the moon about, and I still don't really see Dion leaving Colorado unless he gets to coach Shador Sanders in the National Football League. That's job 5. Job 4, the New York Jets job, which is another step up. And I think Brian Flores would make a lot of sense for this job. Here's the deal with the Jets. I understand that the quarterback position is in flux. It's probably not going to be Rodgers. It may be. I'll tell you, if it is, I think Flores would come in and handle that wonderfully. Because I think he would just kind of push Rodgers around a little bit, and somebody in that organization needs to. The bigger selling point, though, for someone like Brian Flores to me with the Jets, maybe even if it is Aaron Glenn, if you have a good defensive mind leading the charge, you get a top 5 defense. Because that's what Robert Saleh produced. And it's what he was producing to beginning the season until Rodgers ran him out of town. And we know Flores is a very, very good defensive coordinator from what he just did during his time in Minnesota. And we've seen him be a head coach before. And the story around Flores is he lost his job more so because of some issues with the front office, more so than being a bad head coach. Here's the other thing with the Jets job and why I still think this is an attractive job. While the quarterback position is not figured out, you have stars, building block stars. Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, Breece Hall. This team drafts 7th. Here's the thing, what the Jets at 7 are guaranteed to either be able to get QB3 or Abdul Carter, Kelvin Banks, Will Campbell, Travis Hunter. That's what is going to be sat there and available for them. One without a question. And it could be even better. Maybe other teams pass on quarterback and QB2 is there. The Jets are in a good position because that roster still has great pieces. Don't forget about that. Just because things went as south as it did this year. And again, I know people think that Woody Johnson is a disaster. I'm sorry. I'm going to continue to blame Rodgers. I just am. Because I think I think you tie way more of it to Rodgers than Johnson to me. Now we get to the Bears job. And the Chicago Bears are calling everyone. Mike McCarthy, Pete Carroll, they're making a call to Marcus Freeman. That's the wrong college, coach. Call Taleb's guy. Lincoln Riley is not having a great offseason. He's not. I know the win over A&M in the Vegas Bowl kind of covered some stuff. The quarterback room is still not great. The Branch, brothers left. I think Lincoln would listen. And all of the selling point around Chicago is Caleb Williams, who I was very high on leaving USC, and I'm still high on. I'm not as high on this roster. Rome Odunze is inarguably outside of the top 5 pass catchers that were just drafted in that rookie class. Not great when you took him 8th overall in the entire draft. DJ Moore, a little bit of a headache. Keenan Allen, a little bit older. DeAndre Swift, not that good. Offensive line with some issues. How good is the defense? We don't know. A lot of questions around Chicago. And it is still third because of Caleb Williams. I do think the NFC North is fascinating. And I would just say keep your eyes peeled already for next year's odds. The Vikings are going to almost assuredly be worse. The Lions could be losing and probably will be losing both coordinators. That then would leave the Bears, and that then would leave the Packers. And I don't know how many people are going to be hot on Chicago year one. Here's an early one for you. I'll be looking Green Bay next year within that North. Now we'll see when we actually get there. Let's get eyes on what that team can do at the wide receiver position. But that North could be a little bit more vulnerable next season than it was this year. 2 jobs left. You know the 2. What's the order? Where's the value? I'll explain that next right here. It's Game Time Decisions on SportsGrid.
Talk about it failing and always putting the square peg into the round hole. We're going to run it. We're going to try and play these lower scoring games. They didn't score over 17 points in the 5 straight losses.
There's a chance for the Ravens to exercise every single demon on their way to a Super Bowl. But it also means the path is very difficult and things are only getting started.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to be copy-paste. Books up, not good. Win total's a tick too low. Knock it right over. Make playoff price tick too juicy. Bang it out. Postseason comes around on a tee. Knock their heads off.
I don't think the Steelers organization just makes a move to make a move. They have to have, it's like being in the book. You have to know what you're going to move the line to.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Jimmy Butler wants to leave because Jimmy Butler knows that Riles isn't going to pay him, and he wants to get paid. Simply put, if they would have given Jimmy Butler this contract extension in the summer when he asked, this wouldn't be happening. But Riles did it, and Riles wanted him to play. So now he's disgruntled because he wants out.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions, we're doing a little bit of Take 5 with the NFL head coach openings. If you want them right now, we have 6. Saints, not interested. I think they end up with Mike McCarthy. I think that people will be interested in betting that win total over. I doubt I share that interest. The Jaguars, I think they should be making the call to Dion, not Dallas as far as I'm concerned. The selling point on Jacksonville is Trevor Lawrence. Don't forget, this was a team booked to win that division, the South, as comfortable favorites 2 years ago. And entered this year, still a team that many thought could make the postseason. A down year, you get the right coach to pair with Lawrence, things could bounce back somewhat quickly. The Jets' job at 4. I think they have building blocks. I really do. I think Brian Flores or even Aaron Glenn are good hires because that should get the Jets right back to having one of the 5 best defenses in football. The Jets will be very interesting, though, because we just don't know what that quarterback room is going to look like. Third is the Chicago Bears. The entire selling point is Caleb Williams. That's only enough to get them up to the 3rd job, in my opinion. I think they really messed up by not making the move last year, whether that was Harbaugh or actually getting the Ben Johnson deal done. I'd make that phone call to Lincoln Riley, and I'd make him say no. Things in USC have not been as smooth sailing, especially with Caleb leaving. And then you don't have to worry about Caleb learning a new system. And I'm not sure USC right now have things going well enough to have Lincoln Riley where he would say no to this job. 2 jobs left. Raiders, Cowboys. At 2, it's Vegas. And I like this Raiders job. I'm in on what's happening with the Raiders. I'm in on Tom Brady. Tom Brady is changing things for the Vegas Raiders. That's why this Ben Johnson fit is real. It is seemingly expected, and it wouldn't be true without Tom Brady. Pro sports in Vegas. Okay, just here, I don't know if people realize, but like this is something that should work. It should. And in other areas, it has. The Golden Knights immediately go out there and are successful. The Vegas Aces are a juggernaut within the WNBA. Eventually, LeBron will own the Vegas NBA team, and they'll be really good. The Raiders are eventually going to get there and break through that ceiling, and Brady seems to be the guy because Brady is getting people in the room, people through that door that without him would not be happening. We've heard Ben Johnson, maybe quirky, I don't know, could put people off. That's great. Ben Johnson then just has to tell people how beautiful the offensive schemes are and let Brady do all the selling. And that's what he can do. This team drafts 6th. Either they get a rock star to potentially add to either side of the football, right? They have one in Max Crosby on defense. They have another in Brock Bowers on offense. By the way, you want to play a game? Over-under all-pro teams for Brock Bowers. How about a yes-no line for the Hall of Fame? I'll take the yes. First team all-pro is a rookie. They got rock stars already. They got another one at 6th or a young quarterback for Ben Johnson to mold. They have the 2nd most projected cap space next year. I am buying Vegas. I'm not saying Super Bowl now. That sounds crazy. But the Raiders actually going out there and taking a big leap next year, if they get the hire right, if they get this hire right, I'm very interested. Lastly, this is all setting up for anybody out there who doubts whether I am the most unbiased man in the history of sports media to have all of those doubts erased. The Dallas Cowboys is obviously the best job open. If you opened every single job, the Cowboys would be the best job opening because it's the Dallas Cowboys. That's real. That is a real thing. The Dallas Cowboys, though, might get this wrong, which is also, of course, kind of the Dallas Cowboys. They should be on the phone with Joe Brady yesterday. Joe Brady gets in there. Hey, Josh, I know we don't have a ton of weapons. Trust me, though. You're amazing. Let's turn the ball over less. This will be great. That's Dak Prescott. That's Dak. I'm not trying to be mean to Josh Allen. I've been very complimentary of Josh this year. I really have. But, hey, Dak, stop turning it over. We have CeeDee Lamb. This is going to work. Joe Brady is very clearly the guy, not Deion. I love Deion. Colorado, it's been great. You want to behind the curtains? Lacey got me a Colorado jacket for Christmas. I love it. I wear it. It's amazing. Deion is not the guy. Joe Brady is the guy. Stop messing this up. Also, how are you going to hire Kellen Moore? That's crazy. Not because I want the Eagles to keep him. I don't even care about that. You guys fired Kellen Moore. What are you doing? What are you doing? Get Joe Brady out of Buffalo. Get Brady out of Buffalo. And then all of a sudden, you know what happens? Dallas are the 3rd best odds to win the NFC East. Because Philly, you know, is going to be in front of them. I mean, they should be. And then so will Washington, because everybody loves the Commanders. And then you know what's going to happen? Most unbiased man. I'm going to walk right through. I'm going to bet the Cowboys at a high level. I'll bet them to win the Super Bowl if I have to. The Dallas Cowboys are the team that I am looking at, but they better get this hire right. They better get this hire right. Time will tell. We'll update that live board for you next right here. It's Game Time Decisions. exorcise every single demon on their way to a Super Bowl. But it also means the path is very difficult and things are only getting started.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to be copy-paste. Books up, not good. Win total's a tick too low. Knock it right over. Make playoff price tick too juicy. Bang it out. Postseason comes around on a tee. Knock their heads off.
I don't think the Steelers organization just makes a move to make a move. They have to have, it's like being in the book. You have to know what you're going to move the line to.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Jimmy Butler wants to leave because Jimmy Butler knows that Riles isn't going to pay him, and he wants to get paid. Simply put, if they would have given Jimmy Butler this contract extension in the summer when he asked, this wouldn't be happening. But Riles did it, and Riles wanted him to play. So now he's disgruntled because he wants out.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, guys, we're live right here on Game Time Decisions. Had some fun with a little bit of Take 5. I really believe that Cowboys job is the best job available. I don't know where I'm going to end up on my Super Bowl future next year. Like, that is the thing. It kind of, it lands where it lands. It landed on Philly this year. It landed on Buffalo last year. I know I'm going to be interested in Dallas. I'll probably be interested even if they go with Dion, honestly, just because it had to not be McCarthy. And you know that the number's just going to speak to me like few others. Now, we got to go through things. We got to go through schedules, this, that, and the third. I'm not going to know until I know. But they're an early watch for me. They really are. I don't think any of those other... And this isn't a hot take, right? But I don't really feel that any of those other jobs are going to end up providing Super Bowl buzz. The Jets, if they somehow hit a home run at quarterback. The Bears, if they hit a home run at coach, maybe. But look, you never know. You never know. Crazy stuff happens. I'm very interested to see what happens if you ultimately do get Dion at Colorado. What's interesting to me, just if you want kind of something you can get involved with, they started to hang win totals for next year's college football season on more teams than just North Carolina. Bama, Michigan, Ohio State. Colorado's is up there. It's 6.5. Plus 120 to the under. If you think about what Colorado did last year, that looked very light. It's a very similar number to what Colorado had posted heading into last season. Maybe the number, though, is not light considering they lost the Heisman Trophy winner and they lost one of the top quarterbacks in the country. I do wonder what happens if Dion leaves Colorado. Is it just an absolute free fall, mass exodus, every player is gone? Like, it could be the end. Like, you don't want to, like, how does that program possibly survive? I will say this, and I am not obviously trying to, Ed Werner's been covering the Cowboys for forever. Probably longer than I've been alive. I'm not even kidding. Possibly at least. But I really don't think Dion, I struggle to believe Dion leaves Colorado unless it's to coach Shedeur. And I don't think Dallas gives him that opportunity. I am very, very questionable on that. I think it's a
I think it's more money. That's what I think it is. By the way, just to also let you know, I just saw this for the first time. CFB NFL combos market. I mean, you want to talk about taking up way too much of my time? Plus 850. Oh, my gosh. I can't believe I'm definitely going to be on this. Riley Leonard, Jalen Hurts, and Josh Allen to combine for 4 rushing touchdowns. Are you kidding me? Jeremiah Love and Kyron Williams to combine for 3+ touchdowns, 8-1. That's that Notre Dame special. Wow. Well, I know what I'm doing tonight. Do we have any more juice here? Lamar, Josh Allen, Riley Leonard for 200+ yards, plus 380. We could do better. We could do better. The consig here? Dave, get in the mix with me for a second. Because we're getting some stuff here that I wasn't expecting to get, and I liked this, though. And I'm sure you probably have booked these a lot for the Super Bowl. The cross sports stuff. There's some college football, NFL combos. Can you tell me a little bit about the cross sport booking and what goes into that?
Oh, it's a lot. There's a lot. You got to really try to put up stuff that people are going to bet. That was one of my biggest beefs when you made a number. We used to do all this cross sport stuff for the Super Bowl. You would do the hockey props, and then you would put it with the football games. And I remember the first time we did it. We did like Ovechkin shots on goal versus number of catches by one of the running backs. So as long as the numbers are close, you just kind of put the juice at your opinion and then book it from there. Before we get into this, did you say that the Raiders' job was a good job? Is that what I heard?
It's a great job. I think,
what?
Yeah. You're there in Vegas. Tell me why you disagree. I'll listen to it.
I'll give you 3 reasons.
Go ahead.
Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert.
Yep.
And Sean Payton and Bo Nix. I mean, you're already starting behind the 8 ball.
Right.
Right? It's not an easy division. You don't have a quarterback. You have no real plan. I mean, you got a couple individual pieces that look great. And I think it's a hard sell. I mean, no state income tax is great and all that other stuff. And it's a great facility. It's brand new. It's a great place to live. But my goodness, I mean, I'd rather go to the Jets.
No. Well, let me ask you this. Hold on. Do you think the Bears' job's a good job?
The Bears' job is a tough job as well. Because I'm not sold if Caleb is the guy. And I'm walking into that NFC North where, I mean, Detroit is the best team, and they've got a lot of pieces in place, and don't look like they're going nowhere. Yeah. Minnesota is the team that I feel like could go south a little quicker and be more competitive against. Green Bay, I think Nagy's a great coach, and I think they're going to be around. So I don't know. Chicago's a great job.
Yeah. Well, no. So I'm not as in on that Bears job. I think, and I'm because a lot of people think that's the best job open.
The Bears?
And I was curious. Yeah, I was curious because they just had 3 teams combined for 40 regular season wins, right?
Yeah.
Now, here's my thing with Vegas. So, look, I understand what Mahomes and Andy. I, more than most, wonder how long Andy Reid's going to be there. One.
Oh.
I just don't know if he's going to stick around forever. He's right. 2, I do wonder what happens if Kansas City doesn't make the Super Bowl to some of their pricing. I'm very curious to see how that looks. Herbert and Harbaugh can be very good. Herbert's postseason resume, though, is obviously awful.
Yes.
And while Denver and Sean Payton making it was great, nobody even thinks they were one of the 7 best teams in the AFC. That was more of a defensive thing. We'll see how it looks. My biggest selling point on Vegas is I am buying in on the Brady thing. Brady is getting guys in the room like Ben Johnson that would not be in the room if others were clearly with a big hand in it. I'm being serious, Dave. I think this is a peek through the future, right? I think you're opening the portal of what this will look like when LeBron
runs the Vegas basketball team. I don't know why he's talking about running
incredible.
I don't know why LeBron or Mav are talking about opening a competitive league. Just go buy the next NBA. I don't know what they're thinking. But to me, also, but Dave, you've seen it. Vegas should be a place where your pro sport team is attractive. The Aces, unbelievable. The Golden Knights, things go very well. Yep. I think the Raiders are next. They have the second most cap space next year. I think Tom's going to get big names through that door.
Tom's agent came out today that he's not going to stop broadcasting. So he's not leaving that money on the table. At least his agent said so. So I don't know how much involvement he's going to have. I mean, obviously, it looks like he has way more than anyone else ever did. And having someone in the room with stroke is always huge. But I'll tell you what, there is no buzz for the Raiders here. None whatsoever. None. So they got to sell the city first before they sell a guy coming to the city, I think. And if they can do that they just need to win. It's just out there.
If Vegas gets the guy of the NFL coaching cycle for the last 2 years, that's a start. We're hanging out with Dave Sharapan, and we're live with you here on a Thursday night.
Talk about it failing and always putting the square peg into the round hole. We're going to run it. We're going to try and play these lower scoring games. They didn't score over 17 points in the 5 straight losses.
There's a chance for the Ravens to exercise every single demon on their way to a Super Bowl. But it also means the path is very difficult and things are only getting started.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to be copy-paste. Books up, not good. Win total's a tick too low. Knock it right over. Make playoff price tick too juicy. Bang it out. Postseason comes around on a tee. Knock their heads off.
I don't think the Steelers organization just makes a move to make a move. They have to have, it's like being in the book. You have to know what you're going to move the line to.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Jimmy Butler wants to leave because Jimmy Butler knows that Riles isn't going to pay him, and he wants to get paid. Simply put, if they would have given Jimmy Butler this contract extension in the summer when he asked, this wouldn't be happening. But Riles did it, and Riles wanted him to play. So now he's disgruntled because he wants out.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Here, we're live on SportsGrid. It's Game Time Decisions. It's a Thursday night. Kevin Walsh with you. We're joined by Dave Sharapan. You see the OKC hat on. Dave does know how to keep it topical. And the big game tonight is in Oklahoma City. Dave, I'm curious what you kind of were hearing around this game tonight with the Thunder as a short home favorite.
Crazy. This is, dare we say this could be an NBA Finals preview, K-Dub? This is
possible.
This is fun. Yeah, this is good. I don't know if there's really a buzz or not about it. I mean, it's a Thursday in January, so I think for, like the kids say, the hoop heads, anybody watching the basketball, betting it, the number was short. Looked at it and went, wow, really? And I've been talking about it all season. doesn't seem like Cleveland's getting the respect in the market and the numbers and the things, and a little bit shorter favorite at home than they should be sometimes. On the road, still dogs, where other teams like last night, the Celtics are 14-point favorites on the road against a bad team and don't win. I don't know. It looks like OKC tonight to me. How about you?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because the sample size of OKC playing without both Hartenstein and Chet is small.
Yeah.
It's 5 games. However, when you look at those 5 games, they went 3-2, which for that team isn't great, right? I mean, but it was just 5 games. They lost by 2 to Dallas. They lost by actually 6 to San Antonio in the Cup, which, obviously ended up not burning them. They got all the way to the Cup final. But one thing for me, Dave, I'll just say this long term with Oklahoma City, is we know they're very good, right? Cool, check that box. And we know they have depth, which is great. Okay, they can survive injury. Cool, check that box. But now, it's a good problem to have. But Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein have played 0 games together.
Right.
So you don't want, if you have 2 guys who are really good and they're both wings, this is no problem. We have room for all the wings, right? If you want to play double big, that's a change, right? That's a legitimate change to your foundation. They didn't run double big at all last year with Chet. They've never had the opportunity to run double big. Are they going to start with the both of them? Is Hartenstein coming off the bench? It's certainly not going to be Chet. What's the rotations going to look like? So one of the most important things for Oklahoma City to be at their best is something that they still haven't even had one chance yet, Dave, to figure out. It's supposed to be a positive. It probably will be, but it's something to watch. I remember, who was it? Was it the Clippers, of course? It might have been the Nets, honestly. When they had Durant, Kyrie, and Harden. We were like, man, they're 14-4 when those guys play. And I go, game 74. They would have played 18 games together? That's a bit of a problem. These guys got to get out on the court together, Dave.
I agree. Listen, you would know. You're a wing player. Are you a wing player or are you a double big? If I were to characterize you,
I'm malleable.
I've seen you shoot. You want to be a wing player, right? You're
that's
a
true.
Wing player. Okay,
that's
you
true.
like it outside. I understand it. We'll find out a lot about OKC, I think, after last year, this year. And you're right. They got to get this stuff worked out. They got to get this ready for the playoffs. You got to have a plan in that crunch time in the playoffs. They're a fun team to watch. They spread the basketball around, and they got a dog in SGA. But when their dog isn't barking, when he's not getting the basket, then what? And then you still have questions. I want to ask you this while we're talking about the NBA. Last night, the Clippers destroyed the Nets. I mean, I don't know if you were up late. I was watching it. The in-game number was 62.5. I was laughing. I was sitting, with the little consig, and she's like, "What are you laughing at?" And I said, "This basketball game this may be the biggest margin of victory ever," which it wasn't. I looked it up. 73 was it. But they won by 59.
Yeah.
Is there a disparity in the NBA right now between good and super bad? I mean, I'm just not talking bad. Like the Clippers are laying 7 on the road tonight on a back-to-back in Portland. The Suns are laying 15 in Washington. Like what? How bad? How do you find the number to take the dog, K-Dub? Ever?
So I'm on Portland tonight.
Wow. Okay.
I will say teams. I just went through this season and last season. Teams who had won their prior game by 50. None of them had played on a back-to-back the next night. So that's just weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Portland's been pretty good at covering if they're on a losing streak, which they are, 3 straight. I think Portland can stay inside that number. To your point about Brooklyn, I want to put what that loss did for me. I have a win total for Brooklyn over 19.5.
It's in jeopardy.
Dave. See, that's a guy who gets it, right? See, and it's good because it shows that that I'm getting it now, right? I used to not get it. I used to think, let's run around and celebrate. No. We're in some trouble. We need 6. We got a lot to play. I think we've played half of them so far. I think we've played 41. We got 41 to go. I need 6.
It's going to be a sweat. Woo! It's going to be a sweat. Oh, baby.
What is there an updated number out there? Can I get an updated number? I don't see it.
I mean, an updated number, honestly, might be 21 and a half?
Oh, I got
Seriously.
it. 22 and a half.
Right.
22 and a half.
I still just off the top of my head.
Come on.
I haven't looked at that number in a long time. Yeah.
That is what that told. Here's the thing, man. So the idea on the Nets is like, hey, listen, not a ton of talent. They're missing like almost their entire starting 5.
The whole team.
And it's like, hold on a second. Like, we were supposed to be bad even when we were healthy.
With our guys, right.
What is this? What do you mean? Like, they traded for D'Lo. He came out. They won the first game. They were like, now, hold on.
Hey,
all right?
hold on.
Oh, hey, oh. I don't know who told you what about what, brother. This. That is not what we're doing here.
No.
Someone hit his knee. All right, we got to put him on the IR. We'll close it out with Dave next.
Talk about it failing and always putting the square peg into the round hole. We're going to run it. We're going to try and play these lower scoring games. They didn't score over 17 points in the 5 straight losses.
There's a chance for the Ravens to exercise every single demon on their way to a Super Bowl. But it also means the path is very difficult and things are only getting started.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to be copy-paste. Books up, not good. Win totals a tick too low. Knock it right over. Make playoff price tick too juicy. Bang it out. Postseason comes around on a tee. Knock their heads off.
I don't think the Steelers organization just makes a move to make a move. They have to have, it's like being in the book. You have to know what you're going to move the line to.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Jimmy Butler wants to leave because Jimmy Butler knows that Riles isn't going to pay him, and he wants to get paid. Simply put, if they would have given Jimmy Butler this contract extension in the summer when he asked, this wouldn't be happening. But Riles did it, and Riles wanted him to play. So now he's disgruntled because he wants out.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're closing out game time decisions. We have 2 NBA games tonight, action in both. We'll get those. We'll break those down before we get out of here. Dave tonight will be on In-Game Live, where they'll have a lot of focus on tonight's NBA card, a few college spots there. Dave, any ice for you worth eyeing up tonight?
No, I mean we'll watch a little bit later. I'll get into it with Wetzel, but there's some big numbers. I mean, a little bit later, Nashville's a gigantic number against the Blackhawks. Blackhawks first period over is a thing within the hockey betting community. It's been money. I think, 12 in a row, 13, 14 of the last 15, something like that. The Stars are gigantic favorites against the Canadians. There's this, and then Edmonton and Colorado later. is probably the Western Conference game of the night. And Edmonton off a back-to-back, winning last night. Connor McDavid give a little elbow on the way by and caught somebody in the chin, kind of like a K-Dub move. You know, if somebody tries to cross through the pick while you're waiting out there and you give them a little one of those. I think the Avalanche, a small favorite, is probably a play tonight. But that's it on the ice. I mean, we're focused on the basketball. This Cleveland OKC game, I love now that, you know, we're down to the divisional round and we can focus on the basketball. The big NBA games will be the big NBA games on, you know, Thursday nights, Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
And it didn't look like much in college today, K-Dub. There was a lot of games yesterday and not that much today.
Light board. You know, usually kind of that's dictated by how many ranked teams you have in action. Everybody's on pause. I'll tell you this Saturday, I'm very excited to see what that Kentucky Bama number is. You think we got to be in the 170s, right? That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. We ain't talking about spreads here. Got to be in the 170s, no?
I legit, first number came to my head was 181. High 170s. Yeah, we're gonna make it. I'm gonna dare you to bet us over. I'm gonna dare you to bet us over at that point. I didn't even look at Ken Palm. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably gonna come 178. Somewhere in that neighborhood. I mean, I ain't going to give you 172. We're going to take nothing but over money.
175.5 is when Bama played North Carolina. I just looked that up quick.
Right. We got to come higher than that, K-Dub. We got to come higher than that. Didn't that game go over? Bama, North Carolina. Over that number.
I think it might have snuck under. 94.79? Oh, no, that's over, right?
94.79
Close.
Is
Sneak
173. 173.
Good number.
94.79.
Good number. Good number. It's hard to get there sometimes. Let me ask you this quickly, Dave, before we let you run.
Yes, sir.
Anything you're hearing around the divisional round that's kind of jumping off the page to you? Just any side, something like that?
I am amazed by the weighting of the Buffalo money. There's guys I know that are waiting to bet it, and they're waiting to take Buffalo. But they're like, nah, I'm just going to wait, see if we can get 1.5. And they probably already have 1.5 on the other side or plus money on the other side. The total buzz is interesting as well in the Detroit-Washington game. You know, they haven't bet it over because the number's absurd. But I think they're going to try to literally leak that one down a little bit. If they can get it to the 54, boom, they'll go over that. And but there's a lot of people that rhombuses and parallelograms, they love this Houston. They can't wait to bet against the Chiefs again. It hasn't worked out a lot, but they're taking them Texans. They're going to take the Texans. They're just waiting they think they can get 9 out here. So wait and see. I don't know. Do you think a dog is going to win? I mean, is it money line parlay, Chiefs, Lions, Eagles, and then key it to Monday night with the Buckeyes? Is anyone losing? That's plus money. Favorite.
Oh, that's great news. Please tell me that three-way parlay people are just skipping over the Sunday. Chiefs, Lions, Buckeyes. Please tell me.
No. They're throwing Eagles right in there. The Eagles are in there.
No, leave them out.
Do you hear?
Leave them out. Leave them out. Leave them out.
The Eagles are in.
Leave them out. Leave them out. You don't need it. Don't forget tonight, we're grabbing who?
Eagles are winning.
Yeah, attaboy.
Please.
We're taking 7 with the Blazers. Under Kings Rockets. We're not watching it late night. We're betting it. We ain't watching it. In-game live is next on Game Time Decisions.